Hi, so it's been 4 weeks since I last did a factory update video, and to be honest, it's astounding. We put an awful lot of work in, obviously, and those 4 weeks feel almost like a lifetime to me because of so much that we've done. Now, we work long hours here, and we work quite quickly, and we're immensely proud of what we've done. And you can see a lot of the changes here. We took away all those fluorescent lights, and we've had the thing completely rewired. So all these are LED lighting panels, beautiful light levels in here so you can actually see what you're doing. Really nice atmosphere. We've put all the benches in and everything's organised. All the machinery has arrived and been installed, and we can see the various workstations that we've got. So on this side we've got the carbons that come in. So the precursor comes in, the carbons are made, they're ground up, they're dried, they're mixed, they're prepared as plates. The plates come down to cutting stations, the battery case gets done and it gets to the electrolyte fill station, and then we go upstairs to the test station. So all the stuff is here. That's really awesome, and only 4 weeks. That's really amazing if you think about it, how quickly that has been. So we're right on the edge of making some batteries out of this line, and that's what I plan to do at this weekend, actually. So this weekend I've prepared a batch of carbons, and when I say prepared a batch of carbons, there's 25 kilos of that. That's enough for 25 batteries. It took me about 4 hours to do that, to give you an idea of what kind of time it takes. So we made 25 kilos of carbon. We'll make that into plate material. I'm expecting that to take about 12 hours or so that we get the actual battery materials done. It'll take about 12 hours to do 25 kilos of battery material. Then we obviously need to make the battery case, cut them out and fill them up and produce them down the line. So I was thinking that we would make one battery per person per day. And a battery is a kilowatt hour. Actually, I think we'll do rather better than that. I've gone through those processes and checking the times on them. I think it's going to be more like 5 kilowatt hours per person per day out of this particular factory setup. Now, we've made choices about the factory setup, and we've made it semi-automatic. Now, that's actually quite a good thing, really, because it's meant that the cost of producing this line has been very much cheaper than we thought it would be. We looked at a coating machine, and that coating machine was fitted, installed, arrived, £120,000. It's a lot of money. It's not a lot of people can afford £120,000 on a single machine. When we had some problems with the financing, we had to rethink what we were doing in order to get the pilot line up and running, because we're always thinking about what we can do in order to get these batteries out there, because that's our focus. Our focus is in getting these batteries out there. Now, sometimes you think that things are negative. Actually, it was a huge positive, because the rethink that it caused us to do is to set up this semi-automatic line. The semi-automatic line actually is tremendously cheaper to install than the automatic line. And it made me think again, and I'm always thinking about these things, remember, but it made me think again. And that is, what good would it be? I mean, we're kind of thinking of producing megatons of batteries, as you know, but you immediately have to ask the question, well, do you really do that? Do you want one massive battery factory that can produce megatons? Or how about lots and lots of little battery factories that could produce a few kilowatt hours, megawatt hours per annum, but wouldn't cost that much to set up? And of course that fits in really nicely with the kind of view that we have of these things. I mean, the channel's all about this. The channel's all about teaching people to make stuff and to go out there and make their own batteries. Now, there's more to making batteries than just making the carbons. It's actually the physical making of the batteries themselves, and that can be challenging. I mean, it has taken us a year, more actually, to sort out all those processes that you would need to do in order to get a final finished battery off of your production line. And what would that production line look like? Could that production line be absolutely anywhere? Well, of course, with the semi-automatic schema, it could be anywhere. I mean, we're in a factory in Kent at the moment. Now, the factory's not that large. You can see how large it is. It's about, what is that? About 12 metres by about 6 metres. So we have 12 metres by 6 metres of space, and we've put an entire factory line in there that can produce 5 kilowatt hours per person per day, or 5 batteries per person per day. This is a non-controlled environment. These batteries can be produced anywhere. We don't need specialised equipment or specialised environments to produce them. They can be produced absolutely anywhere in an almost cottage industry kind of way using this particular pilot line. And that's what we like about it, is that we could look at spreading this out on a small scale to absolutely loads of people. And we're thinking about doing exactly that, where what we would do is take a fee, which we'd obviously have to do because we need to continue to run, and we've put a lot of work in this. We'd take a fee, and people come in and learn how to make a battery using this pilot production line with a technical manual to tell them exactly what to do to set up a small-scale production line where they could be producing that order of batteries. And I think there's profit in that. I think there's a good business in that for a small-scale businessman who wanted to make batteries but didn't know where to start. I think we have all of the answers here that we could teach people to go out to somewhere where that would be appropriate and make batteries on a smaller scale that they could then sell. Now, the big problem obviously with that is the carbon. So what I thought was we would actually supply the specialised carbon. So you get the specialised carbon from us, you get the battery layout and the battery ideas from us, and then you could go off, make your own batteries and make yourself a business at making batteries using the carbon that we make. So that's one of the things that this pilot line actually has taught us. There doesn't necessarily need to be a pilot line. It could be a pilot line for larger scale manufacture, but it could also be a basis for a wider spread, more cottage industry kind of battery approach. And that really appeals to us, obviously, because it fits the sort of social nature of what we're all about. You know, trying to help folk come on, trying to make a battery that fulfills a need that isn't currently being fulfilled. So it fits really rather nicely with that kind of paradigm that we're about. So we're looking at the battery factory setup with those kind of thoughts in mind. Now, we obviously have a plan. We obviously just don't do these things randomly. We have a real plan about what it is that we're doing. And people often write to me and say, well, what is your plan? Because I can't tell what your plan is from what you're actually doing. And sometimes it's a bit like the tree gets lost in the wood. There are so many videos on how to make different kinds of carbons that I've done. It can be a bit difficult to see what it is that we're actually doing and to have a cohesive view of what it is that we're actually doing. Because, of course, a lot of the videos are just things of interest, things that might come up, things that I just want to share with folk because I think it's interesting or amusing. So there's lots of different reasons for a video, and the plan can get lost in that, and people think, well, you're kind of all over the place. Well, we're not. We always do everything to a strict plan, but we don't necessarily share that plan with you. And I've sort of thought that maybe that wasn't a good idea either. Maybe what we should do is share our plan with you. So obviously we've put a plan together. It's actually a written plan about what it is that we're aiming to do and how it is we're aiming to do it. And I want to share that with you guys so you know exactly what it is that we're actually doing and up to. So we've produced a flip book of our plan, and I'm going to put the link to the flip book in the description below, so you can just click on the link and read the plan, and you get an idea of what it is we're doing and what it is we're up to and why it is that we're doing this stuff. But if you want to write to me as well, then you can always write to me, and I'll put my email address in the bottom, or if you don't, not in the bottom, just send me a comment, I'll send you my email address, and you can write to me and I'll send you a copy of the plan so you can have a look and see what it is that we're actually doing. Now, part of that plan is obviously to make batteries, but part of it is to help other people as well to make batteries. Now, when we're thinking about a cottage industry about batteries, we don't necessarily want the world's greatest battery. We're not looking for a battery that's got a higher energy density than lithium-ion if it costs more than lithium-ion. Because the problem with batteries isn't so much the battery energy density, it's the cost of them. Now, a lead-acid battery, it has about, so you get a 40-amp battery at 12 volts, it's about 796 watt-hours, something like that, almost a kilowatt-hour. That'll cost you quite a few £100 to buy that battery. It's quite expensive. Using the carbons that we're using, now I can tell you that the up to battery material, that is the battery material plate cost, is actually about $1 a kilo. It has about 50 milliwatt hours per gram, so about 50 watt hours per kilo, and it costs about $1 to produce that. Obviously you've got the electrolyte, you've got things like the production cost of the people who will be working there, you've got the case cost to add on to that, obviously. But the actual battery material itself is in the region of $1 a kilowatt hour. That's just awesome. But it isn't the most energy dense material. But it really doesn't matter. You could make these as a cottage industry at very low prices, so they could be used in places where that really doesn't matter. So things like grid stabilisation, home storage, that sort of stuff. So where you need a battery, but you don't have that money to spend on it, then you've got this opportunity to make a cheaper battery that will last a hell of a long time, because although we're talking about these as batteries, remember they are in fact supercapacitors, a hell of a long time, and when space doesn't really matter, then it's a real market for this. Now you've got to remember that lead acid accounts for something like 55 or 60% of the current battery market. 55 or 60% of batteries sold today in the world are just lead acid. So if you could make a method of producing something that's actually in the region of lead acid, even if it's slightly worse, but a hell of a lot cheaper, you've got a really good business on your hands. You've got a really good thing that you can be doing. And that's the aim of what we're actually thinking about on the what we're calling the entrepreneurial program. The aim of what we're thinking about in the entrepreneurial program is to enable people to set up a small-scale battery factory where they're producing a battery in the range of lead acid, but a hell of a lot cheaper, that lasts a lot longer and doesn't need a massive amount of investment to do it. Now that's always been our shtick. We take that on, obviously, a bit further from that. So we make devices that do cost more, but they have a higher energy density. But it still doesn't mean that those lower energy density batteries that are very cheap to produce don't have a market. They have an awesome market. It's just a matter of exploiting that market. So the factory build that we've gone through in these last sort of 6 weeks or so has really informed us and taught us an awful lot. And we're really quite excited because we're finished. We're going to be producing batteries this weekend, which is kind of exciting. So we're going to be making our first batteries this weekend, and obviously I'll be doing a video to show you what the batteries actually look like, and we'll do some performance stuff on them. And we're finished and ready to go. But I wanted to share all that stuff with you about what our plan actually was. And again, you can just look up what our plan actually is. What our thoughts about the battery factory were developing into, because we originally thought it was a pilot line and now we actually think that it would make a good cottage industry. How are we going to look at sharing that with everybody? So we're contemplating whether we'll go for one big factory, which we're not too sure about, or we'll aim for lots of cottage industry batteries where we do much more of a spread share kind of thing. We're thinking about that as well. And I wanted to share all of that with you, as well as where we are in our battery factory. And where we are in our battery factory, we're really pleased about. It has been a lot of hard work. I can tell you that. It's been a tremendous amount of hard work. But we are there and really tired, but happy with where we are. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Do have a look at the links. And thank you very much